girls, and welcome to Season 3 of the Hey Girl podcast with my mom, Bethany Needham. Each week, guests will share their amazing stories of following Jesus on all kinds of journeys. I hope their stories inspire you to run your race in your place. Thank you so much for listening.
Hey listeners, and welcome back to the Hey Girl podcast. If you've been listening for a while, or at least the last couple of seasons, then today's guest will be no stranger to you. I want to say that this is still our most downloaded episode of all time, and it's no surprise once you meet my friend Brittany Crosby and hear her story, you'll understand why everybody wants to tune in. I got the chance again to sit down with Brittany and laugh and joke and catch up and her kind of share some updates in her story. And I have to say, Brittany is one of those people that is so easy to connect with. I, since meeting her the first time last season, have continued to stay in touch and communicate back and forth. And I'm really hoping in my trip in February, heading to Texas, that I'll get the chance to finally meet her face to face. There's a lot more going on in Brittany's story, but I'm going to wait till the end of the episode to give you all an update. So for now, I want you to grab a box of tissues, possibly from crying, but also you may just laugh so hard you cry. We have a lot of fun in this episode, and I know if you haven't heard Brittany's story already, you should go back, pause this episode right now, listen from season 2, and then tune in again to today's episode. It is such a treat. I know you're going to love it. Without further ado, here's my girl, Brittany Crosby. All right, listeners. I want to say I'm so excited, but I say that so much. I'm going to use the word elated today about my guest because Brittany Crosby, you are back.
I am back. Blonde mohawk and all.
Yes, with the mohawk, with the backwards baseball cap right now. You're looking fly. Can I say that?
Thanks. I think so.
Okay.
I've always wanted to be told I look fly. So that's life goals right there.
Girl,
for sure.
You've absolutely reached that. It has been a while since we have chatted, and so much life, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Crazy. Here's the thing. Before we do that, we should probably catch some new listeners up because there's always a chance there's somebody that's like, wait, what? So this is
I definitely don't expect people to just know me.
I don't know, girl. You're kind of Insta famous. Is that what Instagram famous?
I guess I don't know. However, I have had, oh my gosh, for those of y'all who are listening, who did listen to the first episode and sent me world's sweetest messages with so much love and encouragement, just thank you for that. That goes a lot farther than you even realize it does. So just wanted to give you guys a little shout out.
Oh, I love that the listeners are reaching out. We have some pretty amazing listeners. I will say that. Their messages and emails and everything else, they just are life-giving. I don't know. They're not angsty.
Absolutely.
They're just really kind.
No. I don't even know where to start. It's it's been a crazy, crazy whirlwind, but I had quit I used to be a teacher, and I had started a side gig fitness business on the side, and it grew so much, so fast, which was an absolute blessing. And I thought it was God having me quit teaching so I could be a stay-at-home mom. And I'm oh yeah, I'm super down for that. And so I quit teaching and just did my fitness business. And a few months later, I started not feeling well and started going to the doctor. And I'm just what is going on? I am a health coach. I eat very healthy. I had 6-pack abs. I was in great shape. I knew I was in super in tune with my body.
Yeah.
But something was just off. I was I don't feel good. I have crazy indigestion and bloating. There are days where I look crazy pregnant and I'm not. and just super tired. And so I started going to doctors, and long story short, 12 doctors told me that it was either anxiety or anything from like, I'm allergic to dairy to, oh, you might have Crohn's, all sorts of things. Because all of my symptoms were showing up GI, like with my belly. So they were like, all right, something GI. Well, so that was in September, and fast forward to November around Thanksgiving, I couldn't eat anymore. We still didn't have a diagnosis, like a correct one. I still had no idea what was going on, but I couldn't eat Thanksgiving. And the next day I went to the ER yet again for what felt like the 1,000th time. And once again, they gave me pain meds, nausea meds, sent me home telling me I was fine. Well, I felt better from the medicine, so I went home and was like, okay, maybe I'm good now. And the very next night, laying in my bathroom, sick as can be, like screaming in pain, like it hurt so bad, not knowing what was going on. And I went every night for the next 4 or 5 nights and sent home every single time. And the last time I told them, I was like, I am not going home. Something is very wrong, and you are going to figure this out. I'm not leaving this hospital. And so they admitted me. A week later, without any sort of answers, they released me again. 2 days later, I showed up in my GI doctor's office in a wheelchair, holding a bucket, to like fitness coach 2 week to walk, which is ridiculous. That's when they admitted me yet again. And about 2 weeks later, after a lot of different tests, and I was hooked up to all sorts of machines, tube down my nose, crazy stuff, was like dropping weight like crazy. And on December 14th, my doctor walked in the room and said, is your family here? And they weren't all there yet. And so I got on, my family that was there, got on the phone, got everybody there, and everybody leaves the room for a little while, except for my sister-in-law. She stayed there and kind of just like chatted with me, and I knew something was up. And everyone then files into the room. I'm looking around, like trying to make eye contact with everyone, and no one will look at me. And then my husband sits on one side, my doctor sits on the other, and he holds my hand and says, sweetheart, I'm really sorry to say this, but you have cancer. And it was like, I can't even put into words, other than there was a major sense of awed relief. It was like had been so sick for so long that I was finally like, oh my gosh, praise God for finding an answer. Like, we need to do something about this. And so, everyone left the room except for my husband, and we lay there and blasted Trust in You by Lauren Daigle. And it was there that I began absolutely fighting for my life. Had surgery the next day, started chemo 5 days later, went through 24 straight weeks of weekly chemo, got a scan, was told no evidence of disease. So we threw a huge party, like champagne, cake, and dancing, and all sorts of stuff. It was so fun. And 3 weeks later, got the news, cancer's back already. So it was there that I was referred to MD Anderson, the huge specialized cancer hospital in Texas, and met my new oncologist, where we tried a few other treatments other than chemo for a little while, because turns out I have 2 types of ovarian cancer, and one responds to chemo, one doesn't. And it was the one that doesn't that was coming back. Tried all that, wasn't working, ended up trying another chemo. It didn't do anything. And so at that point, I was put on a clinical trial, which was terrifying, just because, you don't know the side effects. You don't know, it's, experimental. You don't know what's going to happen. And it actually held it stable for a few months, which was fantastic. And then one of the drugs in the trial made me very, very sick, and it started growing very rapidly. So I was off the trial, and that's kind of where we're at now. I have started chemo again, had my first dose a little under 3 weeks ago, kind of waiting for my hair to fall out again this time. And, we'll see where it goes from there. But I'll get a scan in early November, and check where things are going. But that's crazy that is the absolute like Reader's Digest quickie version of my story. But, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I basically set you up for failure to say, put your story at a Reader's Digest. It's not going to happen. That's why you have to write your book.
You know, I know I do. And I am telling you right now and committing to the people who are listening to this that I will write my book. I will. Eventually.
And I would like to pre-order it now.
All right. Got my first person.
So last time we checked in with you, and you telling the story even jogs my memory more. You had actually, I want to say, just started this new trial. And at that point, It was looking pretty good. It seemed like this was positive. It was actually finally doing what you were hoping that it would do. But that didn't last terribly long. In fact, shortly after doing our recording and releasing it, things kind of changed pretty quickly. And you mentioned it, but you started having different symptoms.
So, yeah, the last time we talked, we got to have so much like good news and just like, praise God, this is working. You know, it's at least holding it stable and even like maybe shrinking it a little bit. And that was fantastic. And so then when I learned that it was like not holding it stable and majorly progressing again, it was just like a punch to the gut and just like, really? This feels like the gazillionth treatment we've tried and now this isn't working? What's going on? You know, and I almost felt like that was like the end of my rope. And I got to a really weird place mentally. That's when it got really hard.
Yeah. I mean, as much as you're comfortable, talk us through a little. I just, in my mind, you have already up to this point walked through a battle mentally, physically, everything else. And even in your kind of taking us back, we talked about this in the first time you were on, but you really had to fight hard just to get a diagnosis. Like, you want to talk about self-advocacy. There were doctors telling you that, you know what, I think you need to see a shrink. Like, I think that you have something wrong in your head, not in your body. And so then you fought this battle just to get the diagnosis and then obviously walking through the treatment. And so, you know, you think about cancer treatment, but a lot of other things we walk through in life where we finally get through something and we feel like, okay, good. You know what? I showed up how I needed to show up. I fought hard. You know, I checked off all my boxes. And so now I finally get to see the other side.
Yeah.
And then we get to the other side and we're like, and there's another hill.
Right?
What the heck?
Yeah.
So for you in that moment, and again, I know for you, this has been a cancer journey. I think about people who kind of have that emotional, like they're walking through something similar where they feel like, crap, like another hill. What was encouraging to you in that moment, both from the Lord, whether through his word or also other people that were surrounding you at that time to kind of give you that, okay, there's another hill, but you know what? We're going to walk it.
Yeah, no, I actually love that you say that because so Reese and I's favorite place to go is Rocky Mountain National Park. And we go there like every August, and there's this one hike that we did for the first time last year, and it's like you think you're getting to the top of the trail in the little mountain, and it's like you get there and then there's like another one and another one and another one, and it's up at like 12,000 feet, so you're out of breath, it's cold, it's like, oh my gosh, we have to keep going to the next one. But then you get to the like very tippy top and it's like, wow, this view is worth it. Like that was hard work, but oh my gosh, that was incredible. And it's funny, like it may seem cliche to like use that as an analogy for this, but it really, really is. And so when, you know, I went through the hard, thought the hard was over, and it got harder. Thought I was done with the harder, and it got even worse. Like, it was just like, God, where are you in this? Where are you? And he just kept revealing to me, like, this isn't over yet, but I'm also not going anywhere. I'm constant. I don't change. I am still right by your side. I'm just setting you up for an incredible miracle that people are going to know it's me. People are going to know it's me. Gosh, I'm like giving myself chills just talking about this, but he's been telling me, like, you're going to be a story of my healing. You're going to be a story of my healing. And I think just making sure that I lean into him and into that and bring my honest thoughts and my honest frustrations to him, which I think is what applies to everyone, not just going through a cancer diagnosis. It's like your hard might get harder, but that doesn't mean God's abandoned you. He is still right there by you, and he is going to take you to the top of that mountain where the view is going to be incredible. It's going to be incredible, and you're going to have hard work to get to the top. You're going to be tired. You're going to want to give up and turn around and go back down. Yeah. But the view is going to be worth it, you know?
And I don't think it's cliche at all. I mean, I do have a Miley Cyrus song running through my head now.
Love me some Miley.
But other than that, not cliche.
Hey, cliche works. It's fine.
Well, I always said there's a reason it's cliche, right? Like something...
Yeah.
It
makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And it's so applicable to so many things that people, this is kind of one of those imageries that applies to so many journeys in our walk. So here's what comes to mind when I think of you, because now I've been following you for a while, not to freak you out, but I have. And some of our listeners may also be following you. Some may start following you. So here's what they're going to find. Spoiler alert. Girl, you are honest, and you are also like positivity through and through. Like hilarious sense of humor, which I love. Like I love that you can laugh at even the hard, like, listen, this is totally sucks, but we need to be able to laugh and find joy in the midst of, because otherwise all it does is suck. And
absolutely. You don't need to add to the suck.
Seriously, we need less suckage, basically.
Yes. Take its power away by laughing at it.
Even little things like, okay, so you didn't mention it specifically, but what I guess maybe you did a little is the side effect to one of those, to your cancer, really, not necessarily even the treatment, is this buildup of fluid, right?
Yes.
And to the extent that you can go from being like, wow, look at my abs, to, oh, it's a boy. Like it looks. Yeah,
for sure.
And so part of that treatment is they have to put in a drain. And anybody could just be like, this is the worst, whatever. But you freaking name your drain.
I also have a name from my port. I don't refer to it as because I forget I have it. But
okay, I need you to say these names because I'm just being totally honest. I laughed so hard the first time you introduced the drain. I was like, of course that's her name. Of course it is.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my port's name, okay, and for those of y'all listening who are like, what the heck is a port? It's where they access my veins in my like chest to basically pump the chemo in or whatever else they need to do, like fluids or other medications or whatever. I call that one Natalie Portman.
Yes.
And then my drain that looks like a white bandage on my stomach, but it's like a little tube under there. I have named her Farrah Fawcett. So my little celeb friend.
Oh my word. Girl, seriously, you're my spirit animal. For people watching this, okay, and they're like, what in the world? How do you go through what you go through and just keep this positivity in the midst of suckiness? And so I really want to ask you this, because here's what I do know about you. You are absolutely a positive person and you keep your sense of humor, but you're also honest. If people can read, not just like, don't just look at the smile, but read your heart. You're super honest about the fact that it is hard.
For sure.
So tell me a little, what does it look like practically for you to actually like live both authentically? Like this laughter, I'm not just making up. Like come on, this is freaking hilarious. I named my drain Farrah Fawcett. Come on, people, laugh a little kind of thing. But also, ouch, like, but it's also true that there's fluid building up and it stinking hurts and takes my appetite, like all these other things.
Yeah, for sure. I've gotten that question a few times from people, like, how do you like remain joyful if you're here? Like even some people that are like, girl, you don't have to have a smile on your face. Like you can throw that pity party. And I'm like, my life is already hard enough. I don't need to do that to myself. And my joy is real. Like we can have joy no matter the struggle. Like regardless of what our circumstances look like, we can have joy. But on the flip side, I think it's also important to be very real about what you're walking through. Because for one, I know a lot of people, just because of like the amount of, Instagram followers or whatever, follow me and look to my story. I don't want them to be like, wow, she's going through cancer, like a breeze, no big deal. And I can't handle, this, whatever I'm going through. I'm having a hard time. And then that makes them feel less or whatever.
Or like
and
they're not doing it right.
Right. Like what am I doing wrong, basically? Right. And that's not the truth. I mean, there are many times where I am just sitting there bawling my eyes out, wondering what's going on and really struggling and having a hard time. But I think that the difference there is that I don't set up camp there. I let myself feel those things. I let myself be upset. I bring my honest prayers to God. And like, you have the power to take this away. Why aren't you? And I question him and I question myself and my choices and what I'm doing, but I don't unpack my bags and camp out there. It's very temporary. And I pray in those moments and I have faith that it'll get better. It might not get better in the timeline that I think it will, or in the way that I think it will, but it will. And I don't know if I'm ever going to be cancer free. I don't know if the current treatment is going to work. I don't know if I'm going to have to go through 10 more treatments before something works. But I do have faith that things will get better, even if it's just mentally, spiritually, emotionally.
Amen.
And to me, that's enough to get me to the next day. And I honestly think that laughter is powerful and that it is actually medicine.
Preach. Yes.
It is actually, and I don't mean to just sound like hippy dippy, like, guys, you need to meditate. Like, or like, you need to just like laugh at stuff. But it's funny. I have another Instagram friend who she like sends me like funny dog videos. It seems so trivial. And gosh, I hope she listens to this and knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's my friend Kayla. She's fantastic. She's also a cancer survivor. But it's like, it seems so trivial, but laughter actually works. Like, it really does. And I think being able to find something just to laugh at every single day really actually matters, no matter what you're going through. And it's funny, I've had people ask, not necessarily directly to me, but to people very close to me. They've asked, so Reese is my husband. Do Reese and Brittany actually know the real honest truth of what they're going through? Like, do they understand how serious it is? And I'm like, do you hear the dumb question you're asking right now? Like, yes, I sit in those doctors' offices. I hear that, like, I hear the stats. I hear the blah, 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 whatever. Like, people usually don't survive, blah, 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 all that. Yeah. But I'm like, okay, you don't know the God that I live for, and that he performs miracles and in ways that we can know that it's only him. And he gives us these friends and these people that surround us that help us to keep smiling amongst this and get us through each day,
To me, that is so revealing of how we can, I almost think that we can be convinced that the only way that we will actually experience genuine happiness or joy, whatever, in the midst of hardships is if we're like plugging our ears and like la 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 la, like positive.
Yeah.
You talk like hippy dippy, but so basically that idea of like positive, just if I have positive thoughts, like, and again, I'm not negative towards, like, I think you need to, you know, scripture literally says whatsoever things are pure, what, like, think about the things you're letting, like, take camp, using your language, like camp in your mind. However, part of what I love about your story and just you in general, let's just be real, is you set an example that it's not an either or discussion. Like, we can have joy and really experience genuine suffering, and those can in fact commingle, and it doesn't rob either one. Like,
Correct.
You're not embracing the reality of your situation because you choose to take comical photos of you and your spouse in the hospital with needles and scrubs and things. Like, it's just, that's not and vice versa. Like, you're not like, there's not some fake to your joy if you, it doesn't discredit your joy if you are just crying out to God. It's not in that moment that all of a sudden, well, I guess you weren't really joyful. Like, that's just not truth. And we need more people, and I don't like cancer, whatever it is that they're facing, to just live this out more. Like, God wants you to experience that joy, but also it's not going to take away from that for you to authentically, like, show vulnerability when it's hurting and it's hard. And one time you're making inappropriate jokes and laughing, and over here you're using inappropriate language and yelling.
Exactly.
Those things can commingle in other than in pubescent teenagers.
Right? Yeah. I mean, my favorite singer is Avril Lavigne, so I do channel my inner Amy a little bit. So,
and she just released a worship song.
I know.
What?
I'm obsessed. Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed.
Girl, it blows my mind. Yeah. Can we get her on Hey Girl? What do you think the chances are? That would be kind of epic.
I don't know. You never know until you ask. So, but the thing is, if you get her on here, I help you interview her. That's my
110%. Okay. Yes. Yes. Because I will be fangirling and not be able to speak.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think, like, just speaking to what you were talking about with, like, the joy and the like struggle, being able to commingle. I think people going through struggles are almost scared to find something that brings them joy throughout that, because they feel like it's just going to come crashing down. So why try? Yeah. You know, if that makes any sense.
No, there's actually a term for it. Now I'm going to sound like an idiot because I'm not going to remember it right now. But there's actually a term for that, wanting to push away joy, like almost choosing this, well, I need to be a realist, or it's going to hurt more. It's like a self-protection almost. Yeah. Like, if I choose, because joy is such a deep feel. Like, it's beyond a feeling, and I get that, but like, you feel that deeply, which means
joy and happiness are two different things.
Yeah. And to open yourself up to have joy in the midst of suffering means, I think it's Brené Brown that says, like, she talks about it in regards to numbing, but you can't numb one thing without numbing another. And vice versa is true. Like, you can't open yourself up to joy and not also be opened up to the pain that comes to that same depth.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh, you put that so much better than I did. But that's exactly what I was thinking. And
no, girl, I was just reading your mind.
I love Brené. I read like all of her books before my diagnosis, and her point of that exactly is what helped me walk through this. It was like, okay, I'm not going to numb myself to the crap that I'm going through, but that also means I'm going to be able to be open to the joy that God has for me throughout this process. And that my circumstances don't have to define that joy.
Yes, and amen. Do you have a mic? Can you just drop it right now?
I have a pen. Here we go.
Yes. I love it. I love it. girl, literally part of why I reached out to you even in the beginning and now just continuing to stay in touch, whether it's Voxer or DM messages or whatever, is I love that you don't just preach this, you live it. And it's not that you are like, oh, Brittany lives this perfect life. You live something real and authentic. And I just think the world needs more of that.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you. That really means a lot.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's part of my calling and my mission with this. It's like, okay, if I have to go through this, if I have to go, whether it was cancer or what, whatever, and whatever somebody's going through listening to this, it's like we can give it purpose and take away its negative power if we use it to be an example with our lives and the way we choose to handle it.
Yeah. And I mean, I've learned so much through it too. I used to really wrestle with thinking that I don't know if sense of humor, that makes me sound funny, but as in how I find humor in literally everything. I have a lot of guilt about that. Like, I joke that I don't have a filter, like my filter is broken, but legitimately I go through life. And if people knew the things I kept in my head and did not let out my mouth, but like things that should not be funny, I find funny. Like I got stuck in a middle school maturity or something. But I honestly think there is a part of that that's just, it's a gift. Like it's part of what God gives us.
That's a gift. That's a gift. Being able to find humor no matter what, that is an absolute gift.
Yeah. And it can be misconstrued. I actually had a friend say this once, and I think people could look at you, and you've even said, like, get the same idea, is it can be misconstrued as us not understanding the the severity of things or having not really suffered. I had a lady tell me once after sharing kind of my story with her, her response was she started with an apology, which was caught me a little off guard. Like, I'm so sorry. But her point was like, I have just seen you and your smiles and all these things and made the assumption that you've just never experienced real life. Like, and that's why you're this way. And I was just thinking, like, how much that can be confused, that,
sure,
I'm smiling and have this ridiculous sense of humor because I've just never really been hurt. And it's just not true. Like, even through hurt. In fact, I want to say that the hurt I've walked through might have even deepened my ridiculous sense of humor.
No, I completely agree. The same thing for me. Like, I mean, I've always been a little like silly and whatever and being able to like laugh at stupid things. But it's like even walking through something hard has made me even like appreciate it even more and really actively seek out those positive, funny things. Yeah. And,
because it is pretty therapeutic just to laugh hysterically. Like,
if you're having a hard day, go look up dog fail videos. And if you don't laugh at it and it doesn't make your day better, I don't know how to help you.
Okay, so mine recently, and if my husband, poor guy's going to edit this if he's rolling his eyes, but one of my recent guests introduced me to the Marco Polo app. Sorry, I'm always behind in life, but I downloaded this app, which is basically Voxer, but with video. So you're sending video back and forth. Girl, we're getting this after we're off this episode. It's dangerous.
Yes.
But it has voice changers on it, Brittany. You can make your voice sound like you just sucked down helium. And the best part is when you're recording it, you don't hear it. But it's not until they play that.
Oh my gosh. Actually, a funny story about helium. This is like way off track, but I used to be a hostess at Applebee's when I was 16.
Yes.
I know, it was super cool. And they had the like balloon helium up at the host stand, and I would suck helium and then greet people coming in, and I got so good at it that I could do it with a straight face.
Did you ever know that you're my hero? Okay.
Good thing I had a really cool manager and he thought it was hilarious because I was like, I'm either going to get like everybody laughing or I'm going to get fired. One of the two. So
that's true.
Here we go.
it could go either way. I'm glad you appreciated it. Seriously, we're going to get this app and I will show you. I have been like almost wetting myself laughing so hard every time somebody humors me and sends me a Marco Polo video where they're using the helium voice. And I just die. I don't know. It's just fantastic.
Oh, I'll do it. I'll do it for you.
Oh, so it's so fun to sit down and connect again. Actually have like time to sit and chat. I love getting the chance to kind of update people on your story. But tell me, for those listening, because there's going to be people who are like, this is going to be something that's on their heart. They want to pray for you, for your husband, for this journey. For those who like specific prayers, what would you give them as far as, hey, if you're going to spend your time on your knees for us, these are the things that we would love. We would love for you to go to God with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the power of prayer is absolutely real. Reese and I can feel everyone's prayers for us. And it's really funny. I'll get text messages from friends just like with prayers typed out, and I will not have said anything about how my day is going, how I'm feeling, and it is just absolutely perfect. And it's like, okay, God, I hear you. So thank you to those of y'all who are already praying for us and who are going to and are going to sit down after this episode. But I mean, I want to pray big, faith-filled prayers that this treatment will work. Like having faith that God can do it and that he will take this fluid buildup away and really ask for what we actually want, you know, and not, you know, in the past I was scared to pray something so specific and so big like that, because it was like, okay, but what if he doesn't? And I'm like, okay, but if you don't ask, you won't receive. Just praying specifically for this treatment to work, for the side effects to be minimal so I can still enjoy life amongst it. And for me to have the energy to continue sharing my story and to continue sharing what I'm going through, but then the joy that also comes with it. Because there are days where I'm like, I'm tired. I don't feel like writing. And I feel like that's the enemy's way of getting to me and shutting down my voice and my story. And so just praying that my energy, at least to keep my thumbs going and writing. Yeah. And my mental capacity to just stay there and to keep sharing God's message throughout this. That would be wonderful.
Girl, you know you're given a modern day prayer request when you describe God keeping you writing by keeping your thumbs going.
Yes. Well, so we don't have internet out here, so I don't work from my computer much. Ranch life. But so it is me just writing on my phone, oftentimes at 4 a.m. when I can't sleep. But
it's kind of awesome. I'm not going to lie. Oh. So I don't know that you necessarily meant to be profound in this, but I really love that statement. Like, let's ask for what we want. Like, not be afraid to do that. Because I'm like, wow, it seems like that should be so obvious, but how often are we asking for what we think we should want rather than just ask God for what we want? Like, more than anything, he just wants us to be with him and talking with him and honest with him anyway. So it's not like he doesn't know what we actually want. So.
Exactly. He already knows what's in our hearts. He wants our honesty with it. And why are we limiting what we think he can do by limiting our prayers?
Word. You need so many microphones to drop in like one interview.
I didn't know I was going to drop so many mics. That's so funny. I feel maybe like with this backwards hat, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to like drop the mic, it's like I should rap or something. I don't know. Don't make me do that. I'm not good at that. But.
I was going to be like, please take the stage. So I am all about, because both of us have a kind of twisted sense of humor. In fact, I'll just give an example so people can understand that they can really write you openly. In fact, you don't just appreciate it. You just dish it right back. I want to say it was voxing. We were voxing when you first were having this fluid buildup, like significantly. Remember you had to buy a dress and you're like, oh my gosh, like, what do I buy? Oh. And I was like, girl, you need to play the pregnancy card. Like, I mean, you literally have the two most powerful cards in the deck. cancer and pregnancy. Like,
oh yeah.
If anyone is going to get to the front of every line, get everything handed to them for free, you are in a power position.
Yes. And I am not afraid to play those cards. I have to wait in waiting rooms long enough in hospitals. I'm going to play the cards and not wait. Right?
Girl, seriously. But these are literally like our conversations. And I'm like, I appreciate so much that you have not ever slammed the phone on me, because not very many people would be like, ha, I see the humor. They'd be like, wow, you're an insensitive jerk.
No, I was actually like, you're a genius going to shop in the maternity section right now. Like, it was helpful information.
Oh, I really hope that you got to the front of every line that night, just saying. So I also, in my insensitivity, love to challenge what you like to refer to as your chemo brain, which is your way of saying, this may not go smoothly.
Yeah.
But I'm not letting you
always down for a good challenge, though.
Exactly. And I'm not letting you out of rapid fire question round just because you're going through chemo. Brittany, seriously.
Oh yeah, no. You gotta hand it to me, you know.
Okay, so are you ready for this?
I think so.
Awesome. So they're pretty easy, but if you have to think about it, that's cool. If you're going to go out and grab coffee or whatever hot drink or beverage is your fave, are you going to go to a Starbucks or like a local coffee shop?
Local coffee shop. Starbucks is stupid expensive and not very good. Sorry, Starbucks.
Sorry. Now I'm never going to get them as my on my podcast. Sorry, Starbucks.
Okay, disclaimer, I do go to Starbucks every once in a while if it's like, I mean, the convenience factor is there, you know what I mean? So, you know.
Truth.
Yeah.
It's fine. We can still be friends. Yeah. Mostly.
I am, however, not, oh gosh, I'm going to lose a lot of fans from this.
Uh-oh.
I am not a pumpkin spice fan.
Oh, girl, me neither.
Oh, praise God. We just became best friends even more. Okay.
I think all pumpkin spice things are nasty. Ugh.
I don't like it. Ooh.
Yeah. And people love their pumpkin spice around here. It's like, I walked by the cereal aisle the other day and like all the cereals are flavored pumpkin spice.
No.
What is happening?
No. Come on, people.
Crazy. You and I will ditch all of those pumpkin lovers and we'll be pumpkin haters. It's fine. So if we're going to chat, like just whatever girl chat, would you prefer texting or phone calls?
Oh, can I go right in the middle and say like those voice messages where you don't have to be on the phone, but you don't have to like text out everything? Those are my favorite.
Word Boxer for the win.
Yeah.
Until I introduce you to Marco Polo, then not for the win.
I'm about to download it.
So if you're going to go for a road trip, which I know you go for a lot of trips, do you prefer to ride or drive?
Ride.
Yeah, I see.
Sure. I'm a really great passenger for sure.
Love it. So then tell me, what is the last book that you read and really liked it?
Oh, that's a good one. Along with literally every other woman in the world, I just got done reading a few weeks ago, Girl, Wash Your Face.
I was just going to guess that one too.
And I was like, okay, everybody else is reading it. I can't not read it, you know? True. So I did. Oh my gosh, loved it. Rachel Hollis is just genius on point. So
yeah, it was a good book. I am a little bit entertained now because it's gotten popular enough that we get to see all the blogs where people are like, this book is unbiblical, da 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 da. And it just cracks me up. Because I want to be like, I'm not sure she's... Yeah.
No, are we expecting Rachel to like be Jesus? Like, no, she's done so much good. Why are we discounting that? Like, well, let it be what it is. Take, not everything someone says is going to be like I don't know.
Well, we
You
don't have to
agree with everything.
Exactly. Never mind the fact
Yeah.
that, I'm sorry, if you're buying a book titled Girl Wash Your Face, looking for theology, you're in the wrong section of the bookstore. What are you doing?
Yeah, Girl Wash Your Face doesn't have to be deemed as the Bible, but there are really great things that come from it. So I don't know. I don't know why we have to be all up in arms. It's weird.
I had a friend say to me once, and it kind of like messed me up for a while. And his point was like, everything in the Bible is true, but not everything that is true is in the Bible, which I would just like to throw that bomb out there for people to ponder. Like,
Yes.
there is truth. Like, people speak truth. Now, granted, it has to be like, if it's contradictory to the Bible, then no.
Yeah. Right.
But there are things that are not written in the Bible that are still true. And it's okay.
Absolutely.
It's okay.
And that's okay. Yeah. It's the contradiction thing that gets you in trouble. But
yes. And still, I'm saying, like, don't buy a book titled Girl Wash Your Face and then be like, this is so... It's like my friend that went to watch Meet the Fockers in the theater and was so offended that it was so offensive. And I was like... It's like, you just went to watch a movie titled Meet the Fockers and it shocked you.
Yeah.
It was inappropriate.
You bought the tickets. You knew what you were getting into.
Oh, we are silly. Human beings, we are silly. Just saying.
Yeah.
Speaking of movies, what is the last movie that you actually spent money to see? Which could be theater, bought it, whatever, but money went into this.
We don't go to the theater much just because I have to be really careful of germs going through chemo. So like I have to avoid a lot of like public places that don't get adequately cleaned. So I don't go to the theater much.
Well, and now neither do I. Ew.
Yeah, I know. If you think about it, it's chemo made me a germaphobe. But what is the last movie we bought? Oh, we bought all 3 Pitch Perfects because they're fantastic. So
yes,
and just watched the first one for the 1,000th time the other night.
Yeah, the first one still takes the cake on that. The music,
100%
on point,
100%. And my husband, if he could be Bumper, he would. Come out with his own line of sports sandals, I
just like him that much more. I need to meet him at some point. Oh my word.
Yes.
So then, while you're chilling with your hubs, watching the movies, if you can pick your favorite movie snack to munch on, what are you picking?
Peanut M&Ms.
Word. I'm with you on that 100%. Okay. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, I hand you $100 right now. And I'm like, Brittany, you can only do something that's fun. What do you spend the money on?
Oh, that's a good question.
It'd be better if I was actually giving you $100, but it's a pretty good question.
I would say gas to put in our truck to go somewhere cool.
I love that.
Does that count? I feel like that's kind of a cop-out. Does that count?
No, that's actually genius.
Okay.
And it reveals your adventurous spirit.
Yeah. Because I don't like things. I've literally had the same, clothes for, years. I don't buy new stuff. I like going on adventures and doing things.
Absolutely. So last question, no big deal, but who's your Hollywood crush?
Oh, so I actually got to go to the Ellen show this past, I think it was in the spring maybe, and see him live. And let's just say Ellen did a whole montage of Chris Hemsworth. So
stop it.
I didn't get to meet him or anything, but it was cool.
Girl, they should have brought you down there. Ellen needs to meet you. Come on now, Ellen.
Well, okay, so I did an interview to potentially be able to meet Ellen, and I made it to the final round, and then ended up not making the final cut. But they gave me free tickets, so I was like, "That's cool. That's fine."
Ooh,
that was cool.
Very cool. See, you learn something new every day. Okay, so Brittany, this has been so fun.
It's always great to chat with you.
It's been a good time. Texas needs to be closer to Boston.
I know.
guys, ask for what we want. We're asking for big faith prayers here. Let's squish this country together for real.
Yes. Yeah.
Or create teleportation. Is that?
Either one is good.
I'm good. I'm good either way. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
And thank you for having me.
Okay, friends. Real talk. I wish that I had something eloquent or wise, or I don't even know, to transition into the closing of this episode, and just wanting to update every single one of you on Brittany's journey as it stands right now. And rather than trying to be eloquent or be able to fill you in on all the little details, I thought I might read one of her Instagram posts from recently and encourage you, if you don't already follow Brittany, to go ahead and find her on Instagram if you are there. And this was one of her updates just in recent days. It says, "I'm wrestling with this news big time. The giant I'm facing seems too big, too impossible. I feel like no match for 3 10-centimeter tumors, countless other small ones, 1,000+ milliliters of fluid build up every day, and major digestive problems that landed me in the hospital. All of my treatments, everything my body has had to go through, and I'm still getting worse. Even the doctors have changed their tones of how they speak to me about treatments. It's like we've turned a dark corner and are just buying time. I don't know why this is still happening or how we can beat this. It feels impossible. But I do know who. I know who can part the sea, turn water into wine, and raise the dead to life. I know who has done and will do the impossible. That same unchanging, ever-powerful God can put the doctor's jaws on the floor in awe. I know he can. And even though my circumstances tell me to be scared, I trust. I trust that he's pulling so many strings for me behind the scenes. I trust that his love for me is bigger than I even imagine. I trust that he's weeping alongside me every time my tears fall. I trust that he's holding the hand of my sweet husband as he watches his wife just get sicker. I trust that he's never going to leave me in the dark, even when I feel like he's abnormally quiet. Maybe he feels so quiet right now because he's busy in his workshop putting together the perfect treatment for me and sending it to my doctors right now. This is undoubtedly one of the hardest weeks of my life. This space between more horrible news and what we're going to do about it. This space where my faith, my resiliency, and my determination are being tested big time. So I'm feeling extra grateful for Puppy Snugs and our bestie landing soon to introduce us to our newest addition, our godson. Thank you, Lord, for this perfect distraction while we wait on you." And then she writes from 2 Corinthians 4:8-9, "We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." One of the things I appreciate so much about Brittany, and from the moment that I got to meet her last season, interviewing her for Hey Girl, is how even in the darkest of moments, she uses her platform, her voice, to point back to God, and not in an insincere way, but really in an honest way, in a way that still has space for faith and questions, and a space that she can shake her fists and shed tears at the same time, laugh and be joyful, and all of these things can commingle together. And her faith is one that I know in my life has just changed me. It's changed me for the better. It's shown me what God is able to do when people just surrender their lives to him. And so here is my prayer and my request of all Hey Girl listeners today. Is part of our decision to release this today is I would love for all of our listeners to join in prayer. Join in prayer for Brittany. If you don't follow her, go ahead and follow her on Instagram. Send her the love in messages. I would ask with that love, also respect. I know that she's asked so graciously that people not bombard her with questions about how she's doing and updates, but just really to pour over them prayer and love as much and more than we're able to do. And so listeners, no matter where you are, and I know many of you are all over the globe, I ask that even this moment you might pause and pray for Brittany, for her husband, for their family, the doctors, just everybody involved in this journey, that God would work a miracle, that God would do something incredible. And just as we talked about in her episode, that we would not be afraid to ask for what we want, that she would be fully healed and restored on this side of eternity. And we're trusting God. We're putting it in his hands. So listeners, thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for your prayers over our girl, Brittany. I know that she appreciates every single one of them. And thank you again for the time that you have spent today listening to another story, one that I know will have a huge impact on your life and all the other listeners. I encourage you to share this today, not just to share, hey girl, but share this prayer request, and let's join together on behalf of our sister Brittany right now and do what we can. Clearly I'm without words today, and to be totally honest, I'm a little shaken up and a lot heartbroken, and I am praying hard for Brittany right now and ready to see God do something incredible. Thank you. I hope you have an incredible week wherever God has you. My prayer is that you'll continue to run your race in your place and be awesome for him.